This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
I'm Jay Mathis, and this is Your Playbook, where we break down the behaviors, attitudes, and techniques top performers use every day to achieve their version of success. I invite you to join me for every episode as I talk with my friends who are leaders from various industries and walks of life, learning about their playbook and what habits, mindsets, and strategies shape their business and personal life. How you doing? Welcome to Your Playbook. My name is Jay Mathis, and I'm here today with a longtime friend. Looking forward to our time together. And so without any hesitation, let me introduce you to Garret Perkins, my buddy from, now Fayetteville.
That's right.
But we met here in Waco. Welcome, Garret. Glad you're on the show today.
Glad to be here, Jay. Jay sent me a text, 48 hours ago. I was like, hey, I know you're in town for Easter. You want to be on a podcast? And it's not surprising that Jay Mathis has a podcast, that he asked me 48 hours before. And also not surprising that I said absolutely.
Absolutely.
Within 48 hours.
And then an hour ago, you said, what exactly are we talking about?
Yeah. And did I read all of it? No. But
No.
I'm ready to be here.
You knew the word Your Playbook and me. That's about as far as it went. It's crazy when you think about two people getting on mics and just talking. And there's a sense of which, we got to follow a format. And there is some things I want to talk about.
No doubt.
But at the end of the day, it's like, I think just having you sit here, and I think back, we met probably 14 years ago-ish.
Yeah. 14 or 15 years ago.
Yeah. And you were at K-Life Ministries here in Waco.
Mm-hmm. I think we met my senior year of college. Why? No, my first year out of college when your daughter was being courted by a young man that I was walking with, who was a moron at 18. Now that moron is your son-in-law.
Yes, he is.
It all
And you did a
worked out
great job with him. In fact, people always would ask me about Jonathan. I was like, well, Garret, I trust Garret, and he spent a lot of time with him, so that's got to be good.
Spent a lot of time with him. And I spent a lot of time with your daughter from 18 to, still to this day, which is a gift.
It was cool being with y'all the other day, and each of y'all now have 4 kids.
Yep.
3 biological each, 1 adopted each,
Yep.
Very close in age, all 4 of them. They love to play together. So it's cool just generationally how you see that happening. I get to be friends with them and you and your family. And so all that's just great. So you and I met K-Life Ministries, and then did you visit Grace? Did someone invite you to Grace Church?
Great question. I was honestly, as I was driving over here, I was thinking, where was the Genesis? And the Genesis was you and I sat down at Schmaltz.
Yes.
The one on Valley Mills. Is it still there?
In that booth, I remember.
Yeah. We met there, and my wife and I had gotten married, and we had both, in college gone to separate churches, and just as we started mingling our lives together, we wanted to find somewhere that was ours and felt like it was just separate from college us.
Yep.
And we heard about you. We heard about the church plant at Grace Community Church before it was Grace Church, and we really enjoyed spending time with Laurie and Jonathan and walking with your daughter and her boyfriend. We were both kind of discipling and mentoring them at the same time. So you and I just sat down, and I went home that night after lunch. It's like, hey, we're going to this church.
We knew it was a fit.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
And it was a great ride doing those things. And just how relationships get formed. And that was a sweet period of my life. Always will be. Cherish those memories. But you went on to Fayetteville. I've gone on to do other things. Take a step back for us. Tell us about Givington, what you're doing now, and tell us about, I think people, they need to know, I think more than just it's a company that does branding and publishing, but tell us, give us a little 2 or 3 minute overview, just what you're doing.
Well, man, I've been at Givington's now for 6 years, which is wild. It feels like we just got there, but also at the same time feels like it's been forever, which is how most things work. But Givington's been around for 10 years, and it started with the idea of serving nonprofits, large nonprofits, and helping them solve one of the primary issues and pain points of nonprofits, which is fundraising. Coming from a fundraising background and nonprofit background where you kind of have to wear a lot of hats, you rely so heavily on that fundraising event or that end of year giving and that constant cyclical cycle of having to just be a slave to that fundraising model. And we wanted to help nonprofits create what we called non-donor generated revenue.
Okay.
Big word, not catchy at all.
Right.
Non-donor generated revenue was kind of our sales pitch. And our joke is, it was a great idea in theory. And really what we were trying to do is we were trying to help nonprofits build online e-commerce experiences
Right.
to drive their audience to their e-commerce store to generate revenue so that they don't have to raise as much money on the side to really help them, that idea, Paul was one of the first people that talks about it, right? He was a missionary, but he also, he was a tent maker as well on the side to fund his missionary work. We wanted to help create that model because we believed it's sustainable. Our joke is, we had a great idea and Amazon Smile came along and stole it from us. Amazon Smile showed up and we learned that, man, we don't have the money, the backing, nor the desire to keep chasing this side of the business because most nonprofits at the end of the day, they said, hey, this is a great idea, but we don't really want to put in the work. We would just rather call our big donor that'll just write that $1 million check and just be done with it. So we pivoted pretty quickly, but what we did learn is a lot of nonprofits and a lot of e-commerce companies needed help in other areas. So we just went where the momentum was, and really we went where the relationships were. So Givington's now is a full service agency that serves, we call them content-driven brands. What we mean by that is any brand or company that their thought leadership, their IP, intellectual property is their product, we can serve you. So in a world where ideas is king, where that actually is valuable, and a lot of times that falls in the publishing world. So example would be an author or a large nonprofit that is run by a founder that has a very large platform. Those are the types of brands that we can serve through 3 specific areas: creative, branding, marketing, product development, specifically helping develop and publish their content, whether it be through books, e-courses, podcasts, etc. And then last would be in the actual hands and feet logistics fulfillment, where we own a warehouse and ship about 1.5 million packages a year. So,
oh my gosh. So when you think of a nonprofit, a lot of them don't have that founder, author, well-known person. It's just a nonprofit that does like, is y'all's niche more with, like I was with Africa Renewal Ministries. 3 years. We had a founder that had authored, traveled the world. Is that more the niche than the nonprofit that's just known by the name and not by a founder?
No, actually what's interesting is the healthiest nonprofits are not known by their founder, because then
they don't live or die by that.
Exactly. It's easier to generate fast audience engagement when you have a founder that is the spearhead. But what we believe is when your nonprofit or your brand, let's call it a brand instead of a nonprofit, because we work with for-profits and nonprofits, when your brand is founded on your content and not your content creator, it's healthier and it lasts longer than that content creator. So we actually help bridge that gap in that process. So we work with both. So a perfect example is I got off a phone call a couple days ago, actually this morning as well, we're redoing some web experience and some content stuff with CareNet at the national side. CareNet is a wonderful organization, pro-life advocacy organization. I know your wife has been on the board in the local chapters here, and we and that helps with the gala and things like that. But at the national level, they have a national brand, and we are helping with brand engagement. We're helping with building out their e-commerce experience to help that brand go farther, where their products are thoughts or ideas helping serve pregnancy centers and discipling churches on how to get involved in the pro-life movement.
Well, does that CareNet, the work you do at the national level, trickle down all the way to Waco?
It doesn't
to
quite.
Some degree?
Our work doesn't, but the things we do absolutely support the Waco chapter. Or the Central Texas chapter.
Do you, when you look at the company you're with in your day-to-day life, are you more on the nonprofit side, the profit, or is a specific role you're playing inside that? What is your role inside Givington? So my role inside Givington is I'm the Chief Revenue Officer. And really my job is anything growth, new business, or client. So the people side externally, the money side externally, and the growth side externally. My natural inclination, high entrepreneurial spirit, high motor, positive mentality, ready to run through the wall. So I get to kind of sit on that side of it. Usually I get to be a part of the best phone calls, and I usually get to be a part of the worst phone calls with clients. So, which is great. On both of those, in both those areas, I get to kind of navigate that well with people. You know, of course, I represent Sandler in a lot of the work I do, which is a sales training company. How much of your work in the kind of practice y'all are running, is it classic sales team, sales force that has to go out and do that? Is it built on a different model? I mean, obviously you're driving revenue. There's selling going on.
No doubt.
But what does that look like behaviorally and just ongoing for y'all?
Yeah, we've, and again, I don't think it's unique to us as much as it's, I think a lot of other people do it as well, but we've kind of built a sales mentality or a growth strategy that's really built on the backs of the personality of our leaders, myself and our CEO, Alan Befford, who has a Waco connection as well.
Alan,
My joke is, Alan and I joke all the time. I just take his job wherever he goes,
That's
which is
exactly
funny because
right.
he's my boss
Did
right
he
now.
precede you at K-Life?
He did. He preceded
Alan
me at
did,
K-Life. So, but really, my job is, I would say probably 40-50%, not one-to-one sales, but more institutional growth partnership. Let's partner with this organization, let's build something together, and we have a profit share with you guys. So I started in really just an atypical sales role and got promoted to where I got to operate less at a one-to-one sales level and more at a more institutional business strategy growth level. But I still do plenty of one-to-one sales and very much understand the Sandler model, understand a lot of different models. I probably I'm a mixed bag of a lot of those different, but on a day-to-day basis, we call it the Givington's way of sales. And we would say it is relationship forward. And everybody says that. And I think what we mean by that is we are very comfortable spending a lot of time, never actually talking about our product or our services, and just spending time with people until there is an actual need that we can fill. And one of the key areas that we've probably grown the fastest is because we have a sales team of one. We don't have any salespeople. I am the chief revenue officer, and we don't have any other salespeople. We're a $18 million business, and we generate a lot of revenue, but we do have a sales force. But that sales force, we call them aggregators. And what we mean by that is our aggregators are our friends in our network that a lot of times don't even use our services, but their clients need services like ours, so they connect us to their clients. We're solving a problem that they can't solve.
What's the difference between an aggregator versus an advocate?
Great question. An aggregator is someone that we would identify as this entity or this business is serving our clients in an area that we don't do. So we're not competitors. We complement one another. A perfect example is in the publishing space. An aggregator for us would be an organization like Penguin Random House. Penguin Random House is a publisher. They publish a book, but they do not do anything with helping that author generate direct-to-consumer sales, build their social media platform, write their blog posts, build a website. But they have a laundry list of authors launching books every single week, and their job stops when the book goes live. That's when our job starts. So we have built our relationships, and most of my job is continuing to cultivate relationships where we are serving aggregators. So I would say our clients are yes authors, are yes nonprofits, but I'm not calling on these nonprofits and these authors. All of my time is spent with Penguin Random House, HarperCollins, Hachette Book Group, Wiley, publishers that actually connect us because their authors
to those authors.
Their authors need that work, and they don't want to do that work.
Now, a one-off guy like me could write a book here in Waco, Texas, write a book and call you and say, I need help. But that's not really the business model.
That's not our strategy for growth, but we absolutely
you pick up those kind of deals all the time.
All the time, yes.
Yeah. But if I'm with HarperCollins, they may say, hey, you should call Givington.
100%.
Because I need the help or whatever.
Another example of that in the aggregator space would be, so we have publishers that serve content creators, but we also have institutional large printers, meaning book manufacturers that are printing books for publishers and authors and organizations that have content. So what we've done is we've built relationships with these printers to say, hey, once you're done printing it, those books have to go somewhere.
Right.
Why don't you tell all of your authors that you have a great service provider that can help store those books, pick those books, ship those books, manage the Amazon account for those books, to where we've just, instead of having to hire a sales force, we've just strategically found people that trust us, know us, and like us, and are willing to connect us to their authors, their content creators, their nonprofits, their e-commerce companies. And we, there's a lot of that, referral business back and forth that people do. We don't play in the and then we'll give you a cut of the business. Absolutely not. Do you believe we will provide good service? Right. Then we would love to talk with them. If you don't believe we will provide good service, do not connect us to them.
Don't connect it.
So it's been a really fun way in honestly, a lot of those, in a lot of my world, that's what happens. And you know real fast because people start asking, well, what is your referral rate? And I honestly, I hate that model because they're not, there's an integrity piece for us that we just don't like to navigate. And two, it does not feel relational. It feels transactional. And for me, I'll get really bored really fast if I feel like my job is transactional. And it gives me some sort of purpose. I'm like, hey, I love to talk with these people. And if they believe we're good at something, they'll connect us.
Otherwise, it kills the passion, the drive of why you get up every day. A little
100%.
bit, right? I mean, nothing wrong with it if people build a business like that. But it's interesting. My friend wrote a book, was going to write a book years ago. And you'll appreciate this. He sat down and talked to a man. This is like 25 years ago.
Yep.
And he said, I'm going to write a book. And he said, well, that's great. Good for you. And then he said, let me ask you something. Do you have a second car? He said, I do. Why? He said, here's what you need to do. You need to take that second car out of your garage and just plan on parking it outside, because your other side of your garage is going to fill up with a bunch of books because no one's going to buy them. And it's interesting because today that same guy now has resources on the publishing side, right?
Yep.
I mean, the Amazons or whoever, but also now with organizations like yours where he could have really been able to take that same book, print on demand, and told his story broader.
That's it. Yeah. And I think a lot of people think where we thrive in the content space is people associate content with a book. And we see that's the problem with the content space. People put the book at the center and they go, how do we sell this book, market this book? And the book isn't in the center.
Right.
Your content's in the center. It just so happens to sit in between the spine of that book. How do you take what's special about that book? Not the poundage of the paper, not the PPI, not the dust jacket. That's a commodity. Nothing about that is special. That's a commodity. But what is special is the ideas in that book. How do we take those ideas? How do we repackage those ideas so that they live longer than the 3-week life cycle of 98% of books across publishing?
Right.
And what it does, it ends up freeing up that content creator. Notice I keep saying content creator, not author.
Right.
Anytime someone goes, well, I'm an author, I go, no, you're not.
You're a content creator.
You're a content creator.
That lives on all sorts of platforms.
All sorts of platforms. And also you are creating content, talking about every single day and everyday relationships. Right. A lot of our clients are consultants where they're going into large Fortune 500 companies and they are generating unbelievable content at a one-to-one level, at a one-to-many level, and they're building these resources. And all we do is help package that in ways that go farther than just their current medium. And that's where we really thrive, where we get to come at the strategy level and go, what makes you special? And how are you leveraging that? And in what areas? And then we say, great, you already got this area figured out. Let us help you figure out other areas to leverage that content.
Okay. You said two things that I'm curious about. One, you said a lot of time up front in relationship, which is a principle that I believe as well, that you slow down in the early stages of the sales process, high engagement, because then it goes faster at the end.
Absolutely.
It's a good principle to do. It's hard sometimes because people need to make a sell, right?
Yep.
And so there's pressure in there. But sometimes in that process, there's a sense of which you feel like sometimes people feel like they could be taken advantage of. In other words, some people call it, I'm just being a free consultant. I'm giving away the store, so to speak.
Yep.
There's a David Sandler used to say, don't spill your candy in the lobby. And his point was like, you just don't give it all away. How do you balance giving away your expertise with no hope of getting anything back from it? Or do you even worry about that?
Yeah, great. Honestly, that is one of the cruxes of selling at the enterprise level and selling at when it comes to the thought leadership consulting level.
Okay.
A lot easier to not have to deal with that when you're selling it at a commodity level. What I mean by that is a transactional sell of that book bag. Like you can't experience that book bag until you literally buy the book bag. You can touch it, you can feel it, but you don't get to experience going on a flight with that book bag outside of like watching a marketing video.
That's right.
I can give you the quote secret sauce of how to build a content spectrum in a sales call, and you could in theory go and run and take it and go, thank you for that. So we've actually in the sales process, we've created products that help us actually get farther down the line in the sales process. And it creates a little bit of buy-in from the potential customer on the front end. We call them blueprints. So on the content strategy side, on the website side, on the branding strategy side, what we will do is, for example, with CareNet, we'll give a real life example. We're doing this with CareNet right now. I had an onboarding call today. CareNet is wanting to rebuild their storefront experience, their online bookstore. And that's center of the bullseye client for us. And but there is so much behind the scenes of what types of integrations are hooked into that website. What type of buyer experience do you want the website to feel like? Anybody can just quote that and say, okay, send out an RFP for a proposal, and any creative agency can say, well, I'm going to charge you $30,000 for this website, $40,000 for this website, $10,000 for this website. I mean, it can be a 5x difference between your proposals that you will get from creative agencies when it comes to web development. But what we have done is we have strategically said, hey, we will not send a proposal unless you pay us to do a blueprint. And here's why. Yeah. You'll pay us $2,500 and we will build the plan for your website. Now you can go shop that website to whoever you want. Yep. I don't care if you use us or not, because anyone that's quoting that website has no idea what they're getting into. That's and right. You don't know what you're getting into. And that's okay, because creating a website is not just creating a website. It is the front door to your house. So one, we try and create some tension. Two, also offer them something on the front end that is a low barrier to entry, but gets a little skin in the game for them, and also positions us different than everybody else. I think that's like probably one of the primary places that we've seen success in. And how do we position ourselves as different than every other creative agency?
And the risk there is the $2,500 up front.
The risk is the $2,500.
That's the 20. It's like the home builders who say, we'll do your blueprints and everything. So they may spend 6 months just designing a house. Yep. In the past, they may have kept doing that for free. And now I think the model is, hey, pay us for this. We'll go through that whole process with you. Yep. What you've done is you've pulled in that with trust, low bar. And I think there's still that place of things you tell people. Like you may say something today that someone might go, that's a great idea, I'm going to do it. Yep. And we're always giving away something, but there's that balance and you do.
We freely give away. I think on the creative side, we do that really well. And like those blueprint products. And what we do is we say, hey, and if you end up using us, which 9 times out of 10 they do, because we know more than every other creative agency at that point. We've built trust. They like us. They know us. We say that all the time. If you like us, you know us, you trust us, you'll use us. Yeah. Period. And we bank on that. And we trade on that.
Sure.
But in all the other areas of our business outside of the creative agency, I mean, anyone that has heard me on any sales call or doing any consulting meetings or even preliminary calls, I say all the time, my time's free. So I'll give you whatever you want. Right. What I trust is that if you think I'm good at what I do, then you're going to trust us with your business. Yeah. So we have done, and we have spent a lot of time and a lot of money on earning the right. We say that all the time. It's like, hey, let me earn the right to your business. And the way I'll do that is I'll prove it to you by doing things for free. Now, I say that because we're a profitable business now. That's like, it's very easy to say that when all of a sudden it's like,
when the money's flowing, but
we have a, we're $18 million business. We have a very healthy P&L. So therefore we can take calculated risks, and that calculated risk for us is our time. So I will fly to New York and spend 3 days with businesses that pay us no money.
But that is old school, just prospecting. That's what people have always done, right?
Oh yeah.
They buy lunches, they drive to Dallas or other cities, wherever they're at, to go meet with somebody. I can't charge them for that. And that prospecting conversation may last months.
Oh yeah.
I think what's interesting, in the past, it was always, I'm just trying to sell you. I'm trying to sell you. I think the balance of charging something versus I have expertise and we're willing to let some of that out, knowing that someone could take it and, someone could say, well, that's a great idea. And I just wrote a book and I took that idea and I'm doing this. And I don't think that's a risk as much as it is, you do that enough, you're going to build a fire under people to where they're going to hit a wall to go, well, that worked, but I need more. And because you were willing to say, my dad used to always tell me in the insurance business, he'd say, if you want to get clients, he said, build a fire under them with knowledge and unique expertise, really bring to them ideas. And I just told a group this the other day. Dad spent 50 years basically in the insurance business. I had more than one of his clients tell me, he said, your dad is like the smartest insurance agent we've ever met. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, he just knows stuff. Yep. And because he knew more than the other guys, they wanted to talk to him. And then they built trust. And now they want to do business with them.
Yep.
And I think in y'all's business, the way you're talking, you exude that sense of like, we haven't figured all of it out, but we figured out a lot and we have expertise and we'll share some with you. Right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, freely. I mean,
all
giving,
yes.
It's in your name, giving.
Yep.
In that, what is that when we talk about on this show a lot about behaviors and attitudes, when I think about attitudes, it's a mindset. You have a very positive mindset on life. I've known you long enough. And this may dip into more than just work and all that kind of stuff, but how do you maintain that? Because maintaining in a culture we live in of toxicity and argumentative conversations everywhere, how do you maintain that joyful, positive pursuit in work and really bleeds over into life?
Yeah. Well, I think it depends on the person you talk to. With me, I don't know if everyone would call me a positive person. It depends on the day and if you ask my wife, she'd say, "Yeah, he's positive."
What would
like,
Bomar say? What would Bomar say?
I think Jonathan would say I'm positive for the most part. I think probably when it comes to behaviors and attitudes, I want to tether my positivity and joy with authenticity and candor. And I think that's probably if Garrett
say that again, positivity
and joy with authenticity and candor.
Okay.
I value those two together a lot. Authenticity and candor without positivity and joy is brash.
Do you think those are behaviors or a mindset, like an attitude? How would you categorize that?
I would say, well, they're values at its most basic. So they're definitely probably an attitude, and they're expressed. I would say positivity is expressed.
Yeah.
But I would say candor and authenticity is a posture maybe or a value.
Even a behavior. I mean, your candor is really all those could be behavior.
Yeah, they can be. They can exchange in both sides, but I think tethering those for me is really important. And when I'm at my best, and I think when I'm the people want to follow me as a leader when I navigate those together. I am at my worst when I am when I drop positivity and joy, and I am authentic and candid. It usually leads to arrogance for me. Whether that be in a sales call or in an internal leading call.
And then it comes across to them, to whoever it is listening to it, it'll come across harsh or too competitive or something, right?
Yeah. And I think
arrogant was the word you used.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And no one's ever called you arrogant, have they?
Yeah.
Garrett?
Yeah. Not today yet. But it's also only 3:30. So it is the price I pay for being a trailblazer by nature.
Sure.
But also it's the price I pay because of my natural inclination is I'm competitive. I want to win.
Right.
When my wanting to win at the cost of the person in front of me or next to me is where I experience probably the biggest rub, whether it be in a sales call or whether it be in leading a team or whether it be in my marriage or my parenting with my 8-year-old son or my 12-year-old daughter. So those are that's the barometer for me in honestly most situations. I was having a internal meeting today. We have a client that is, on the fritz. We've been with them for a while. They just feel like we're not providing the service that they want. Yep. And I can, at my worst, look at all the things that they're lazy and they're not doing the work and they're not this, that, and the other. But if that's my honest and candid, whether that's true or not, doesn't matter.
Right.
This client feels this way. So I can bring those together and actually help equip them to say, hey, here's what I need from you. I need you to actually manage your dashboard better. I need you to do these things better so that we can serve you better. That's what I need from you.
That's the candor. That's the best part of your candor coming out.
And I am good at having those hard conversations. But if I haven't built a relational bridge that can withstand the weight of truth in that whole conversation falls short.
Right.
And I only have so many bullets on that authenticity and candor. And my natural inclination wants to fire first.
Sure.
But I've learned in business and in marriage and in parenting, most specifically parenting, that positivity and joy is something I have to actually work at. Like it's encouraging to hear when people say, "Oh, you are a positive person. You do like exude a joy." That's not my nature. That is nurtured over. That's nurtured over years of asking God to take arrogance from me and wanting the Spirit of God to produce that
Right.
fruit of the Spirit in me, and then walk in a way that people see both those. Because I believe they're both needed and valuable in a workplace and in a marriage and in parenting.
Yeah.
But them together is a superpower. Them bifurcated from each other is an ugly cocktail.
It's interesting how there's these two words. I'll just put candor and joy together.
Yeah.
Those two words. It seems like everywhere I go, there's these. Everybody's trying to figure out the two sides of that,
Yep.
right? So I talk about humble confidence.
Yep.
Similar deal, right? I want to be humble, but also I have to be direct.
Yep.
I have to be confident when I speak or when I ask a question. True in sales, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Right? I got to be humble, engaging, friendly, but also be confident to say, I don't think this is the best way, or this is what you should do, whatever it is, But there's a word that's come out recently in some of the Sandler training. It's called, no, it wasn't Sandler. It was Patrick Lencioni used this.
Yeah.
And he talked about disciplined spontaneity. And it's similar in that there's this sense of which there's right, there's wrong. There's things that need to be done a certain way, that discipline, but then there's that lightness of spontaneity.
Yep.
It's just like in this conversation, there's a discipline of time. There's a discipline of content to some degree.
Oh yeah.
But there's a spontaneity of where can we take this? Do you find in working with clients, it's that sort of audio is going on in the back of your head, whether it's candor and joy or spontaneity and discipline, or what are some of those different things going on in your head to keep you kind of in the rails of what you need to be doing?
Oh yeah, no, I think that's that is the fun part of, depending on the personality. This is why salespeople get into sales for a living. It's the game of figuring out where to take this conversation.
Yes.
And a big part, I've heard Lencioni talk about the discipline spontaneity.
It's a great term.
Oh, great term. Yeah, yeah. Because anytime you can put competing terms, they
Oh,
go,
yeah.
no, they come together. It's like, oh wait, how does that work? So I do love that. And I think what I love to do is in phone calls with potential clients, or honestly, what I've recently found myself enjoying probably more than any other part of my job is when there is a real tangible frustration with a current client.
You have a frustration.
No, the client does.
They're frustrated with
us.
something.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I've learned whether it be because I almost like conflict. I enjoy the problem. It's pretty close.
You do.
My wife,
Yeah,
uh-huh.
you do.
But I just have always seen it as an opportunity to win someone over.
Yeah.
That's where I find the discipline, spontaneity of going, hey, I hear that you're frustrated. You're allowed to be frustrated. Thank you for that. Thank you for telling me that. Finding opportunities to establish, especially in a client relationship or even an employee relationship, of also pushing back so that they recognize, oh, this person isn't a wet blanket.
Right.
They understand they're convicted in this area, or they believe this, that, and the other. But then also, I always try and find an opportunity to go, hey, I disagree with you there.
Yeah.
But this is, my team makes fun of me because I'm old enough now where I've said things enough where everyone goes, oh, Garrett, that's a Garrett saying.
It's a Garrett saying.
And which is annoying. And all the time they hear me say, hey, that's not worth a relationship. So while I disagree with you, that's not worth the relationship. So you guys can totally have that. Because it's not.
Okay.
And a lot of times it has to do with dollars.
You're trying to figure out what is that line
Yeah.
that we're going, hey, we're not going to break up over this.
Yes.
Like, just take it. Or,
Yes. And usually that gesture, whether it hurts or not us internally, financially, or we now have to do more, whatever it is, creates this momentum the other direction where
it does.
I worked at a summer camp growing up. And they always said, turn a negative situation into a positive situation.
What's that negative reverse type comments and questions?
That's exactly right.
You're giving it away a bit.
Yep.
And there's that sense of joy in that, quite frankly,
Mm-hmm.
that because it's at the heart of who we should be is giving people, forgiving people, gracious people. And sometimes that doesn't fit into the business world mindset. But
it's powerful.
But it's powerful.
It is so powerful.
And you can do it when you realize, look, we're just two adults. We're having a conversation.
Yep.
And we're going to arrive at something. I tell people all the time, and every conversation, you should let people know one or two things are going to happen. Either we're going to move down the road together, working together, or we may go our separate ways, but it's okay. Because at the end of the day, we're just two business people having a conversation, trying to arrive at some conclusion. And it's naive to think that every conclusion is to our benefit.
Yep.
That it's a sell or it's it's an agreement or a contract. And sometimes the agreement is this isn't going to work.
Yep.
It's not going to work because it doesn't fit in our
Mm-hmm.
deal or it doesn't fit in yours.
Yeah, and we welcome tension. One of our core values at Givington is candor, and we welcome tension with our clients, and sometimes I wouldn't say seek it out, but we definitely are not uncomfortable having conversations with them around, hey, here's what we need more from you, because it's a relationship. And what we tell everybody is they hear all the time, which I think only establishes like, hey, we are relational forward. We say, hey, what we do is a commodity. Anybody can do what we do, but nobody can do it how we do it.
Right.
Building a website is not special.
Right.
Shipping boxes is not special. There is nothing new under the sun. God got it right. So therefore, what we are going to spend more time and money on is how we go about doing these things.
Yeah.
The onboarding process, the sales process, the customer experience process, the customer retention process, the relation, that matters more to us. And it's not just that sounds very, like, oh, wow, well, you're just like, you guys don't care as much about profit. You care more about the people side of it. Well, while that is true, it also helps with our profits.
Well, sure.
Because
it's a differentiator.
And everyone says it. Everyone says like, oh, but I actually believe, and I think, and we've done it with our surveys, our clients and even people that don't work with us, they know like, oh, those Givington guys, we know them and we like them. And
well, and sometimes there's that, they don't know how to describe it probably.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Like, what makes them different? I don't know. It's just, and so you're trying to figure that out. I think that word differentiator, yeah, not that there aren't other companies doing something similar. There probably are out there.
Yes.
But, you can't get all of the business. But I do think the way we build business in the future has to be less commodity. Because now with even AI, getting certain ideas is not that hard.
No.
How we deliver them is everything. When I was doing some training and development work, I realized that I wasn't going to write the latest book on leadership or sales. It's already been written.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's written it all.
Yep.
The question is, can you go to a client and help them? Does this slowly move down as we're talking?
Surely, yeah.
it just kind of moves
Slowly,
as we go.
but surely, yeah.
But the question is, can you take whatever that great content is and actually have it embedded into the culture of a company?
Yep.
That's the hardest part.
We Seth Godin, he and I had a conversation. Seth Godin's a famous marketer, and he's brilliant. He wrote a book called This Is Marketing, and it's brilliant. He also wrote a book called This Is Strategy, and we did a whole interview around his book launch. And we were talking about this exact idea. And Seth Godin defines marketing as the change we wish to make, sharing about the change we wish to make with a watching world. And I love that idea. And a lot of times people think, well, I'm going to write the next book on X. And that's not possible because, like you said, everything's been written a long time ago. But moreover, you might write the next and only book that matters for this group of people.
Yes.
And it's not that what you said was different. It's that how you said it and who you are resonated with that group at that time and that moment, and it made change.
Yes.
And so Seth Godin calls it, what is your smallest viable audience? Live, eat, sleep, and breathe for that smallest viable audience. Too often, businesses, content creators, authors, nonprofits, ministries, churches, college, they get outside of their smallest viable audience. Who do we serve? That's who we serve. Everything you do, how you talk, the way everything's laid out, the products you create, the training that you do, the type of employees you hire, all centered around that smallest viable audience. And what ends up happening is you don't realize how big that audience is.
So when you say smallest, would you say smallest viable audience?
Yep.
So when you're saying that, I think it's a weighting issue.
Yeah.
It's a weight.
Push it back. Yeah.
Yeah. I think our huge crew that, there's no crew surrounding us.
No one.
There's no one in here.
Yeah.
When you say smallest viable audience, you're not just saying a target market. It necessarily, are you?
Kind of, but keep going.
Kind of. But so if I say, let's say I write a book on resilience, and because I've thought about that, and so I've reflect back on my life, right? So I write that. Am I writing it? Am I thinking about, I want these people to buy this book, or am I trying to say, does that make sense? Like, or is it?
I think the wider net you cast,
it dilutes it.
It dilutes the possibility for it to connect with that right person at that right moment and the change that they wish.
So
to
if am I picking, like, if I'm going to write this book, am I thinking, oh, it's for people in my age group? It's for people who have walked my similar walk. Is it for Christian or people who are not Christians? Is it, I mean, what?
Yeah, I think it just depends on, with a book specifically, it depends on the content. I think you can write broadly, but I do think in your context, again, it's not just about the book. The book
Yes.
is just the book. What Jay's smallest viable audience is who do you want to make change with? I don't think your answer is everyone.
Anybody and everybody.
No,
right.
If that's the answer, that's a horrible business model. That's a horrible church model. That's a horrible Baylor University model. No. So of course, like resilience, while it can resonate across all types of people, the content in that book is going to resonate most with your smallest viable audience because you wrote that content. It's unique to you, your life experience. So when you're sitting talking with Lorena ISD about resilience, Lorena ISD resonates with it because of that's within your audience, for lack of a better word. So it is your market, but too many people paint that so broad.
Yes. Because they're feeling like, I don't know if I can get a market, so I'm just going to try to blow it out to everybody.
Yeah.
I'm just going to get,
yeah,
and hope that somebody.
There's plenty of euphemisms, right? When you aim at nothing, you get nothing, right? When you aim at something, you get something. And I think the mistake a lot of content creators make is they think that there isn't a big enough audience in that niche, so they try and stretch it. And the answer is actually, yes, it is.
There's a huge audience in that, whatever that niche is. It could be
because
big.
The point is this: you're not. Let's say. I mean, let's play it out. Let's say instead of you're going like, hey, I'm writing a book on resilience, but I don't want to pick an audience. But if you go, hey, I'm writing a book on resilience for grandparents to pass on a legacy of resilience or pass on a legacy to their kids and grandkids, all of a sudden you're like, well, that's like, it's not that big. It's just people in Waco. But also you start thinking, no, actually, there's a lot of grandparents that want to pass on a legacy to their kids and grandkids. And it gets bigger. And when you focus on that smallest viable audience, the 13 people that you're leading, all of a sudden those 13 people become raving fans of this content. And guess what they do? They share it. Yeah. And guess what they do? They share it.
And you thought there was only 13. Now there's 1,300, 13,000. Exactly. You didn't realize that. And then it can go in books that are written depending on the topic can cross over cultural and ethnic boundaries around the world. Because all of a sudden, my friend and Pastor Peter or somebody in Uganda is like, that resonates because they're still part of that group, right?
Yes. So, again, you can write the book broadly, but how you apply the content from that book needs to be streamlined, focused on that smallest viable audience.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. We'll talk more about the book. Later.
Jay, you and I have been talking about books for 15 years.
I know. Well, we're gonna do Gospel Paradigm eventually.
One day.
But anyway, yeah. We'll talk about how I struck out in T-ball, which is a true story.
Uh-huh.
And I think it did set a trajectory for my life. People say, when you struck out. Today, the rules are different, like for your kids, I think.
They can't strike out.
They can't, but we could then. And I actually had an umpire. So I hit the tee twice. And then I overcompensated as I went over the ball.
And missed it.
And the ump literally struck me out. I had to walk back to the dugout. And that gets into the psyche of a 6-year-old. And I look back across my life and like, oh, shoot, that explains a lot of things. But it also explains, there was a sense I think my parents taught me that, well, that doesn't crush your life. What are you going to do next?
Yep.
So I think in the culture we live in, well, there's that sense of resilience. People give up too quick.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Instead of saying, well, okay, that didn't work out, but I'm going to remake myself and do this.
Yep.
And if you can hang on to the same, core beliefs, then you can you channel it different places.
Yep.
Which brings me to a question, and I'd phrase it like this, which is, what's your version of success? Because that's a tricky question.
Oh yeah.
We always want to say, well, success is, having a bunch of money and getting to travel. But for you and Amy Joe, what would you say your version of success in life is?
Yeah. Very loaded question that I think we do discuss quite often. And what's interesting is I don't want to say it changes, but it definitely has evolved as we've gotten older.
It will continue to.
Yeah,
Just wait.
Yeah,
it'll continue to.
Exactly. I'm learning that. I would say we would define success with a certain amount of peace and contentment at the center of it. I need that for myself, and Emmy needs that for herself because we are both very independent people. We're both very driven people, and what we've learned as we stoke our own fires of drive, we at our worst have experienced burnout, never able to achieve enough, whatever it is, in a ministry context, as a parent, as a spouse. And we've learned that, man, what we want is a peace and contentment in our life that everyone around us can see, that we are very driven people, but there is not a we are not discontent with where we are. We want to go. We want to chase. We want whatever X is, pick the thing. But we want to be individuals that, as a unit together, as a married couple and as one flesh, walking through life with this peace and contentment that is very noticed. That we've learned from being not that. It is something that we have been working towards. And now when it comes to our family, we've learned that there just needs to be a healthy sense of success means being intentional. And we have the Perkins family values. Our kids have memorized them. We encourage towards them. We discipline with them. We use them across all aspects of our family, which has been a game changer for our family to just
Can you give me one
a target.
Give me one.
Cherish Jesus, stand for the truth, encourage one another. Yeah, we have all of them. So
I love it.
And they all kind of build on each other. And my 12-year-old understands how they build on each other, but my 2-year-old just kind of knows how to
mimic it at this point. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's just helped
it's
create.
like the gospel. Like, I mean, in the sense that at 8, you understand it one way. And at 58, you understand it a different way.
Yep.
Right. Because of the life we live. So, and that really, when I hear that, and by the way, I see that in y'all. I can testify to that.
That's good.
And I don't see behind that. I mean, we haven't been by each other a lot. And I'm sure the scorecard of life is something you have to guard against, right?
Oh, yes.
Constantly.
Yep.
One of the things I think has meant a lot to me is just resting in that word identity.
Mhm.
And so now we have to define what it means.
Yeah.
And so as a Christian, we say my identity is in Christ. And that just tends to trump other things, right? Like to just go, well, no, it's okay. I failed in that. I succeeded in that. But those are just roles or activities or things I do.
Yep.
But my identity becomes secure in Him.
Yep.
And so now, even with our family, like I don't have to lean on always needing the affirmation of my wife or children or grandchildren to make me feel worthy or make me feel right. I mean and I think that gets to those code of values or family values really probably all go to that thing if you're wanting to build your kids' identity. So their version of success is tied more to their identity in Christ.
Yep.
And then beyond that, just for all humanity to go, we got to have a bit different version of success than lots of money and lots of things because the vast majority of the world won't experience that.
And the people that do experience will be the first to tell you it didn't work.
It didn't work. At the end of the day, it's going to fall short.
I can tell you, I have more money today than I did 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm less content today than I was 5 years ago in a lot of areas of my life.
Yeah.
And I've learned it's because and again, whether it be more money, bigger house, kids going to a different school, whatever it is, those create a lot of times competing, not ideologies, but just competing stuff, not even bad stuff, competing stuff with our target a lot of the time. So Emmy and I have looked at, some of the most content and peaceful our lives ever were when she was a teacher in Hillsborough, Texas.
Yeah.
And I was a youth director and college director at a nonprofit, and we made less money together than I do in a year.
Right.
Now.
Right.
And again, Biggie was right when he said more money, more problems. It's true.
Right.
First world problems a lot of the time, but really it's more money, more distractions. And you create this identity of needing to chase the next thing. And we have fought against that over and over and over again. I'm thankful for a wife that isn't impressed by the shiny object,
by the next thing.
That's kept me humble in that. But I think you said something on identity, and that I think we've tried to apply it to a work context of, I tell my team all the time, like, I don't expect you to be a perfect worker. I want you, I need to give you a space to fail.
Right.
And which means you need to give me a space to fail as your boss. If I don't lead you well here, or I drop the ball here, we are, yes, it's organizational chart, of course, like you report to me, but we're working together.
Right.
And this only works if you trust me and I trust you. And I tell my team all the time, like, if we're going to fail, let's just fail fast.
Yeah.
Like, let's fail fast. So I think in the business side of success, I think one of the things I've learned that and my team would say this, and Givington's would say this, like, I don't have many superpowers, but one of my superpowers is speed. I'm like, hey, let's just be first.
Right.
Let's be first. And if we're first, we get to screw up 2 or 3 times before this group analyzed it and tried and figured it out and raised the money.
Right. Are you saying first to fail or first to succeed?
It doesn't matter. Either
it doesn't
way,
matter.
I just want to be first.
You just got to get there first.
I had a buddy who, again, I am not handy at all, but he's super handy. And he tells me all the time, he's like, Garrett, everyone's really impressed that I'm like super handy. What I tell him is like, no, I get 4 times to try and fix this shower before I have to hire somebody, and I've still saved money.
Yeah.
Where you spent money, and I'm willing to do that 4 times over. And me, I feel that in very much other areas of my life. Like, let's just try.
Yeah. What's the worst that can happen?
Literally, the worst that
what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I used to tell my kids, they're like, if you're going to make mistakes in school, you make them, but just don't make the big ones. Like, I mean, but you might as well try stuff.
Yes.
I mean, if you want to try out for that deal, but failure is a part of life. And to think that we're not going to fail multiple times in our life. I mean, I know Raphael, I can't remember the great tennis player, the one that retired recently. But Federer. Yeah. Federer says he won 85% of his single matches.
Yep.
85%, 1,568 or something like that matches. He goes, but I only won 52% of the points. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Like, so he said every day, like if you miss a point, you just go, it's just a point. It's just 1 point.
Yep.
And he said, if you start obsessing over that failure, you won't win the match.
Yep.
But he said, knowing that. And so you look at life, we have this idea that if someone's really successful, that they must have succeeded at everything.
Yep.
I had a man in town, some people know the name Paul J. Meyer, and Meyer, arena over here. And Paul gave me a sheet of paper. He claims I'm the first person to see it. He said, we had lunch. He was gracious to have lunch with me one time, and he put it in front of me.
Yeah.
And on the front side, it said, I've failed at 66% of everything I've tried. And it had a list of all his business failures. And then he turned over, and it said, these are all things I've failed. I've succeeded at. And it was like 33% or whatever. And he was just trying to make the point that look, I had to try all these things. And I think that's at 58 of going at that thing of resilience means more and more the older you get.
Yeah.
Because I got to watch a dad who kept striving and pursuing things. And I think there's some gist to that of just never quitting.
Yep.
The famous phrase, never quit. But when you think about when you get up every day, right now it's Givington. Right now you got 4 kids at home. 20 years from now, we don't know where the Lord will have you.
Yeah.
But if you could open up a playbook every day and see a word, let's just say for this season of your life, what you may have already said it once, but what is the word that you want to look at? Like I've used the word resilience. That's a word I think for me right now is it means a lot to me.
Yeah.
What is your word?
Man.
Or maybe it's a phrase, but a short phrase.
No, for sure. Yeah. Things that come to mind. I want to stand firm.
Okay, stand firm.
Yeah. I think when I'm more thinking of what do I want my kids to look back in 20 years from now and say, what did my dad do? Like he's like, and I don't mean stand firm in being bullish on holding the line when they lied. I want them to see that I stood firm with the convictions that I have. Yeah. I think specifically as we are coaching them to be a certain type of person. We say the Perkins family is this, whether it be our core values or we believe these things about the world, about our neighbor, what all these things are. It is easy to say it. It is really hard to do it. And I want my kids to look at me in 20 years, and maybe a better way to phrase it is I want my kids to say my dad is who he said he was.
I think that's the authenticity word. We get back to that.
Yeah.
Like he was his authentic self. And I think as a Christian, we both follow Christ. There's a sense of which, if you say we're being authentic, it's because we have to be rooted in Christ, which means we're going to do righteous things.
Yep.
But we're also going to do things sinful. We'll use that word. And the authentic person knows that.
Yep.
And is humble enough to go, if I do something good or righteous, that's by grace alone. If I sin, I can receive forgiveness by grace. So I think that's, to me, when I look at my father, who wasn't a great theologian or wasn't, he taught Sunday school and things like that, but just a godly man. I think his authentic self was, he knew who he was and knew who he wasn't.
Yeah.
And I think of that a lot. And then to watch that reflected in older life. So as you watch me grow old, you'll watch me grow old over the next 20 years. Yeah. It's like you hope that what I was 10 years ago is similar 20 years from now.
Yeah.
That authentic and growing in areas.
Yeah, I want there to be progress for sure, but I do think there are things about me that's been spoken over me that I believe is unique to me and gifted, and my children see it, my wife see it, people that trust me and follow me and have I want that to still be there, but more refined over the course of 20 years.
It's refined. It sharpens because of different things. Okay, I want to ask this and we'll wrap up. But when you talk about the Perkins family values and what your kids to be a certain way, is not to push back on it, because I think it's great.
Yeah.
But it seems like in the past, that probably happened in some household, but sometimes how different is that than just saying, hey, I want you to, this is what the Bible says, or this is what a Christian is? How's that different, or just melded in together with saying that language of Perkins way or Perkins family values? Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, no, it's a great question. And I think for us, it primarily is a tool that as our children are young, that gives a repeatable, it's a repeatable phrases that are integrating biblical principles. Like if you read, we have a massive banner that sits in our living room that says that because the Perkins family have been saved by grace, we believe that all of this is because Christ has been so good to us. Therefore, we strive to, doesn't mean, and again, our kids know, strive to is an important word there.
That's right.
Because it means you won't do these things in the same way. These are vows. And our family values model and literally follow the vows that Emmy and I committed to each other at our wedding.
Oh, cool.
So, because my vows to Emmy Jo, I fail on them every year.
Sure.
Every year I fail on them. There's some that I have not, but there's some that I do. And the reality is, these are unconditional vows. Yeah. So to be a part of our family, this is the expectation. Knowing that this is the bar, you will miss this. Yeah. Therefore, enter the grace of God. So for us, it's honestly just another version of the law.
It's rooted in grace.
Oh, all of it is, yes.
But what's so counter to what we've seen in a lot of homes over the years is that just like in our home, we do this or we do that. And the difference is saying we are this kind of people, we do this, and saying we strive for this. There's a subtlety there that really is a subtlety of grace. Yeah. To know, hey, it's like saying, I want to do this, and by God's grace, I will. And by my, that's exactly. So it's that's a whole different conversation, but I think that's good. And I think it ties in with success in general. Yeah. Of just going, at the end of the day, the word success doesn't need to be in our vocabulary much. It's really faithfulness, right?
That's
of what we're doing. So I always like to see, what is that word? So stand firm is kind of a 2-word deal for you. And just that, that sense of, we talk about behavior, attitude. One last thing is just in what we call our success triangle, using that word, behavior, attitude, but techniques. And I think you blended that in, the strategies to the techniques of your life. Oh yeah. You're very open and honest about who you are and who you're not, or who you struggle to be. Yeah. And as someone who's known you, I see that in that. So, this if you could leave a last word to anybody watching this or listening to this about just getting up every day and striving in this world we live in. Yeah. What would you encourage them on? What's your encouraging words?
Man, encouraging words for,
if someone tunes in right now and they go, that's all I heard Garrett say. Like what would be the summation of things you'd want to encourage people with?
It's a great question. I think there's situational upon situational. I mean, I don't want to get on a theological pulpit. So,
okay, let's do this then. Yeah. because people may be listening to this from a business perspective,
Yep.
maybe even sales.
Yeah.
If they got it through Sandler.
There you go.
And so I'm very frank about who I am personally, but I have resources
Yep.
out there. If someone says, I want to make it in sales, well, like I got to get up every day.
Yep.
B2B, business
Whatever.
consumer, whatever.
Yep.
What do you tell them?
That's a fun one.
I'll land the plane on
Yeah,
that.
there you go. First one, I think I alluded to it earlier, and I would say, try. Just try.
Yeah.
I think
Make the calls. Go for it.
And there's so much resources out there that I think
Yep.
people have analysis paralysis.
Oh, yeah.
People want to know the right strategy. They want to figure out, okay, well, how do I handle, how do
What
I
if
handle
they do this?
opposition? And
Yeah,
what if
yeah,
they do
yeah.
that? And there's so much content out there on social media of, well, this is how you do it, and this, that, and the other. And every single person is unique. The way Jay does sales and the way Garrett does sales is drastically different. And we could be using the exact Sandler model,
Right.
because I am Garrett and Jay is Jay.
Yeah.
The beautiful and fun part about sales is the game of that conversation in that
Right.
moment.
That moment. Yeah.
And I would say the only way you figure out how to do that is by doing it. Try, stumble, fall, get up, and do it again. It's not even, and I'm not even saying that burn the candle at both ends, make all the calls. I don't care about that. What I mean is learn who you are.
Yeah.
Learn, and salespeople are one of the only people that get to literally, for their job, get paid to do that.
Yeah.
I get to sit across the table from people, talk about their needs, figure out if I can be the one that provide their needs, and if not, move on and do it again.
And do it again and again.
And
And
not only
refine
that-
it all the time in real time.
That's exactly.
In real time, you're
Yep.
refining it. And I've always told people, if you put me in front of 5 to 10 people a week,
Mhm.
good things are going to happen.
Oh yeah.
I'll stumble into it.
Yep.
They may say, well, he could improve in this area and that area. But it's like, you just kind of try and get in front of this 5 to 10 times a week in most cases, and
Mhm.
something good's going to happen.
Yeah, volume is everything in sales, of course, but volume of relationships are even more
It just,
powerful.
yeah, you keep
Volume
doing
of
them
calls
over
is
and over
one thing, but volume of relationships, and
Yes.
that might be, maybe that's the soundbite at the end, is volume of calls or volume of book calls or volume of deals is a metric, but volume of relationships is powerful across industries, across B2B sales, direct consumer sales, life in general, which is why I have hung my hat on relationships.
Yep.
Jay's, you've talked to me about 7 books over the last 15 years.
Yeah.
I will answer that call every single
Sure.
time, because what I do know is, one, Jay knows me, he trusts me, he likes me. Therefore, if someone else needs something that fits in a world that I know, Jay's going to go, well, you know what? Call my friend Garrett.
Yeah.
That's because I've spent years answering that phone call. So that, there you go. Volume of relationships versus volume of calls
There it
is
is.
going to be not anything else. See, a little soundbite for everybody.
VOR, VOC, it all works.
A
Volume, no,
let's-
VOC is volume of relationships.
We'll trademark that.
I like it.
There
Thanks,
you go.
brother.
Jay, you're the man.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, brother.
See ya.
See ya.
Your Playbook is powered by Sandler, a global provider of sales and leadership methodology backed by data-driven solutions designed for measurable, continued success. Check out Sandler.com. And a big shout out to Rogue Media Network.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.